I was not prepared for all the feels that episode gave me. Were you prepared for all the feels that episode gave you, Hedwig? Hello everyone, I'm Papa Kenn, and welcome to a brand new episode of Discovering Doctor Who. Today is the episode where I cover A Christmas Carol, and oh my god, I was not prepared for this episode. Let me get into it, and I'll obviously explain more as I go along. But let's start with my favorite parts of this episode, starting with the honeymoon suite, basically. It's like, as soon as they mentioned honeymoon suite, like someone was sending a signal out, I was just like, okay, apparently there's something going on with Amy and Rory there. And then when they came up to the front deck, and she's wearing the officer's uniform from her first episode, and he's in the Roman centurion outfit, that was just such a great scene. It was absolutely hilarious, and the awkwardness that, you know, comes from the very short conversations they're in, and then at the end of the episode when the doctor looks at them and realizes what they're wearing, it was just really good, and in my opinion just some nice, great comedy that obviously had some undertones that I found hilarious. But moving on, my second favorite part of this episode was, and I apologize if I mispronounce the name, but Kazran Sardick, aka the Scrooge of this episode. Oh, there is, and I won't hit on everything because he actually applies to several other parts of my favorites here, but in general, just as the character of the Scrooge, amazing job. Both playing himself and his father is just a truly angry, cold, and when he's playing his father, just this horrible, horrible person. Just the character itself was just so well done. And so, my heart reached out to him. Like, when the episode first started, I was just like, great, we're gonna have your typical, it's like, you know, oh, Scrooge is a horrible person. But then at the end, he realizes the fault of his ways. But no, there were so many different levels to the way that he changed and went back but was still different. It was just, the character was so good. So good. But yeah, like I said, I'll be touching on him a little bit more as I go along here. Let's move on to number 3 of my favorite parts of this episode, which is the Doctor's Christmas Carol idea. And admittedly, I mean, there's no subtlety to it at all. He's basically yelling to Amy, you know, it's a Christmas Carol, because she can't hear what he's saying. And then it's like, you can basically, like, see the light bulb go off in the show. And I commend Matt Smith for doing a good job with that, because honestly, when it comes to people like having that light bulb moment, there's sometimes where it looks so stupid. And it's like, in order to make it come across, they actually need a, like, cartoon light bulb to appear. He did a really good job of, like, convincing me that this is an actual idea that the Doctor just came upon during his, you know, rambling and talking to Amy at the time. But the idea there, and the execution of it, from the element of Ghost of Christmas Past, which obviously we spend the most time with, Ghost of Christmas Present, which is Amy, and then the Ghost of Christmas Future, which was Sardick's future self. I keep forgetting his name. Oh, and I'm actually going to hit on that in a little bit as well. But moving on, my 4th favorite part of this episode was that there was finally a lie too big for the psychic paper to apply. Like, when the kid looked at the psychic paper, all he saw was wiggly lines. And I mean, I'm pretty sure that we've had bigger lies come from that before, In the past, it's like, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like there was kind of a stretch that this was the biggest lie it's tried to put across. But just the idea that that's actually possible is hilarious. And honestly, I kind of hope that it happens in future episodes, because I would just love to see what kind of trouble it could get the Doctor into, or what would actually happen there. So yeah, that was just really cool. And yeah, anyway, moving on. My fifth favorite part of this episode was, well, really Abigail herself, but also it's like when Abigail sings to the shark, or really just when sorry, that's my phone. When Abigail sings in general, like, she is just an amazing, amazing singer. And what was her name? The actress's name? Oh, I know, I wrote it down. Katherine Jenkins. Beautiful, gorgeous voice. She is immensely talented, and honestly now I want to see if I can find some other things that she's sung online. I don't know if she's like a major recording artist or not, but just a beautiful, beautiful voice, and she's also quite beautiful herself. So yeah, but that scene where she was singing to the shark and basically just petting it there while it just kind of dazed in the fog of the basement. That was such a cool scene, and a really beautiful one too. I mean, combining that scene of her sitting there with the singing, it was really, really good. Now moving on, my sixth favorite part of this episode, the countdown, and really the mystery surrounding that countdown. I had a good idea of what was going on, and what I assumed was basically right at the end. But just the idea of the countdown, like what's going on there, is that how long she's supposed to stay in the container, or what's going on there exactly? Would there reach a certain point where she would no longer have to stay in there? But no, obviously it's the countdown to how much longer she has to live, basically, which was really sad and one of the biggest, most dramatic points of this episode. But yes, I really like the whole countdown element, and that actually leads into my seventh favorite part of this episode, which is Kazran and Abigail. That I was concerned at first, because when her picture first appeared in place of the father's picture, I was kind of like, okay, so they have a romance that occurs. But I was concerned because when they first met, he was a little kid. He was 12 and a half, something like that. I can't remember what they said exactly. And she's obviously an adult woman. So, like I said, I was a bit concerned of how they were going to pull that off at first, but the way they did it was just absolutely perfect, with them going from Christmas Eve to Christmas Eve, year after year, and then finally he grows up into a young man, and she finally takes notice. And that was such a good moment, especially because I thought it was dragging on how every time she would say "Doctor," every time that the door opened or the container opened, she never really just acknowledged Kazran. Kazran. She never really acknowledged him when the doors would open, until that one time when he was old enough. And I just found that to be really adorable, and especially at that point, because he's at that very awkward teenage phase where it's just like, he's obviously very much in love, especially by that end scene where they they have their kiss. But there was just so many parts of that relationship that was just amazing, and especially the very last scene where, I mean, he's the old man and this is her last day on Earth, her literal last day of being able to live. And I just thought it was beautiful and adorable that they've got to take that one last sleigh ride with the flying shark, which was hilarious. But yeah, it was so much fun and so good. That whole relationship from the moment it started in the episode to the very end, I just absolutely loved it. Now that brings us to my eighth and final favorite part of this episode, is when Kazran meets himself. And that moment right there, I should have seen it coming, but I didn't, because when the Doctor confronts Kazran when they're down in the basement, he's showing his true old cold self, and how he really has, he has become his father in many ways. And for the kid or his childhood self to see that was just such a powerful moment, such an absolutely powerful moment. And when he runs up and is getting ready to strike himself, basically, but oh, I can't even describe it, but that entire scene was just, I dare to say, perfect. It was absolutely perfect. Very well acted, so well done. I should have written down the actor's name that played Kazran as the the older man and his father. But he is a good actor. Everyone was, like, even the kid actor did a really good job. The Kazran that fell in the middle, I guess, he did a good job. He was really good at both being, sort of a, more mature person in the later years, but also when he was just a younger teenager, of being able to portray that very awkward shyness. Just great acting all around. For the life of me, I honestly can't think of any bad acting for this entire episode, and I guess you could throw that in as a favorite too. Now, I will say this: although although I did list my favorite parts, there was so much good about this episode, so much good that I actually don't have any annoyances with this episode. I do have one that is a kind of sort of annoyance. But overall, it's just, this is one of those episodes where, I watched it from beginning to end and I had no problems. There was nothing that made me go, From beginning to end, it just had me. It was so good and so enjoyable. If I would have to mention one slight annoyance, just one slight annoyance, is that we never figure out what Abigail's illness is. And whatever it is, why couldn't it be something that possibly the doctor could figure out how to cure? I don't know, it just bothered me that didn't even come up a little bit. But again, that was afterward. That was after the episode was over and I really thought back about it. Otherwise, this episode was just amazing. I venture to say, I mean, this is easily my favorite Christmas special episode that has been on the show so far, and I venture to say it's possibly one of the best episodes overall. And we don't even have like all of this huge epic occurrences happening. It's a nice story. It's a nice take on the Christmas Carol formula. And it was just done so very well. So yeah, other than that very slight afterward annoyance, I honestly have really nothing negative to say about this episode at all. It's definitely one that this is the episode that I'll probably make a habit of making sure I watch every holiday season from now on, every Christmas, because it's honestly just really that good, in my opinion. If you all have different opinions on, like, the positives and the negatives, please let me know. But from my personal perspective, this was a great one. This was just absolutely very well done, and one of the stories that Stephen has written that I was absolutely blown away by. And yes, I called him Stephen, not just Moffat, so yeah, you can tell I'm happy with him. And I didn't have too many other feels, or whatever. Anyway, it is time for my song of the episode, and it may be pretty easy for some of you all to figure out. But first of all, if you don't know this already, this episode by itself has a 2-CD soundtrack that you can purchase online. And all of the music is pretty darn good. I mean, some of it is pretty similar from time to time because, they incorporate some of the other Doctor's music like they do in other episodes. But from beginning to end, the soundtrack is really nice. But my favorite song of the episode would have to be Abigail's song, aka Silence Is All You Know, by Katherine Jenkins, the singer, obviously. It was just so good, and there were a few other songs that she sang in there as well. I don't think they're on the soundtrack in particular, but yeah, just that voice easily made this song stand out, and yeah, I can't say enough good things about it. It's like any of the songs she sang, really. She just did a wonderful job, and it really it was sort of like a cherry on top of an already amazing episode, having her there to sing those songs, especially Abigail's song, Silence Is All You Know. Now, it's time for my quote of the episode, and There were a lot of really funny moments throughout this episode, some nice quotable lines, but there was one that stood out to me the most, and I feel like it definitely encapsulated the whole theme of the episode. And it was this: everything's got to end sometime, otherwise nothing would ever get started. And it sort of is like, it reminds me of the saying, or no, actually it's a line from a song. Every new beginning is some other beginning's end. It's like, you know, things have to end to begin, and with every beginning there has to be an end at some point. And just, oh, that line, that quote right there was just so good. Like I said, it was just one that really stood out because of how well it encapsulated the entire episode. And now, yeah, honestly, that's pretty much it from here on. Everyone, thank you so much for joining me for this journey. Like, I went through an entire season in less than a month, I guess, at this point. Get it going from the beginning of season 5 all the way to the Christmas Carol here. And I guess technically it's season 6, but on Netflix it's season 5, so that's what I'm going with. Especially since they fall on the same year, 2010, so yeah, I'll just go with that. But, oh, everyone, just thank you so much. Thank you so much for the support. Thank you for watching along. Thank you for all of the comments. It's been a heck of a time, and I will say this. The next episode, which would be the season recap, will be a little bit delayed because I'm going on vacation. I don't know whether or not I'll be able to get it out before the new year. I will if I can. But most likely the season recap won't be until the new year, or very shortly after the new year. I'll keep you all updated on the social media how that's going to end up happening. But yeah, for now, this is most likely going to be the last Discovering Doctor Who that will show up in 2014. What else do I have to say? Oh, well, coming up next, after the season recap, will be The Impossible Astronaut and Day of the Moon. Which, I found it interesting that they would start off a season with a two-parter, but, you know, hopefully that means that it's going to be a good one. But everyone, again, thank you so much for joining me along for this. I hope all of you have a wonderful holiday season, a very Merry Christmas if you celebrate it. Any of the other holidays you might celebrate. I'm recording this on the solstice, so happy solstice. Yeah, it's just been... it's been an amazing year so far, and I'm actually going to talk about that more in the upcoming Q&A video that I'm going to be posting. Hopefully I won't have to do that with Windows Movie Maker, but that will be going up next week. You still have time to send in some questions if you have any. I'll provide a link to the video where I am, taking all the questions there. I feel like this is going on long enough. Everyone, thank you so very much. Oh, and I guess you can't really see it, but I hope you like my ugly Christmas sweater. I got it from theyeti.com, and oh, the artist's name is escaping me. It's Nina Masamoto, I think, but I'll put her name in text here. Is that you can't still get it, unfortunately, as far as I know, unless she puts it up for sale on one of her sites. But I absolutely love the ugly sweatshirt deal, and the fact that they made Santa and a couple of elves off of the cartoons, or the cartoon animations from those horrid old Philips CDI Zelda games. I absolutely love this sweater, and I felt it was very appropriate to be wearing this for my Christmas episode. So anyway, everyone, I will see you next time on the next Discovering Doctor Who, and until then, please stay tuned for more of the videos that will be coming out next week, both the Ask Me Anything and the snacking episode, which will be all about my mom's delicious snacks that she makes every Christmas. I really hope you all enjoy that, and I hope I haven't bored you too much talking so long after the technical end of the Discovering Doctor Who here. Anyway, again, everyone, I will see you next time on the next Discovering Doctor Who for the season recap, and until then, Alonzi!